Methodist English Medium School would not have seen its present form, and obviously the light of success until its founder, late Right Reverend Bishop Nibaran Das, had not felt that there was a need for a school dedicated to imparting English medium education. With the thought of advancing his long cherished dream to a reality, he built close integration with the people around, to be specific, with dignitaries of his Korean counterparts, Bangladesh Methodist Church Trust (BMCT), and church members. And an endeavor such as this for years generated spirit among them to assemble in a common platform, which gave Methodist English Medium School the momentum required to start its journey from January 7th, 1997.
You must be wondering how such a mammoth virtue came to be successful by the hands of a simple teacher working in a small village named Baroi in Gopalganj district. There is no doubt that it was because of his call. Guided by his will, his distant path seems to have been enlightened as he realized the celestial message, felt the need to work for those who were far from the service and derived of education. To help people do what they need, he surrendered himself and responded like Eli, "Speak, O Lord, for your servant is lightning." 1 Samuel chapter 3 verse 10.
In response to his call, late Right Reverend Bishop Nibaran Das flourished church activities throughout numerous districts of the country in order to dispense the message and dedicate his life to the Lord's servitude. However, eventually the servant sought financial independence and sustainability for the church, instead of relying upon funds and donations. Thus begotten was the idea of establishing an English medium school with a tolerant fee structure for the middle and lower middle class people of the community, so that the celebration of God's will is not only bounded within the church walls, but extends further beyond. Now, the million-dollar question is, how did the Methodist English Medium School come to be? It is all credited to the mountain worth of money invested by Korean friends, most significantly the elder Mr. Seung Kyu Kim, and the unfaltering efforts and determination of the Bangladesh Methodist Church Trust (BMCT). To propel this plan towards success, the primary initiative of the authority was to select a suitable site for the proposed school, and thus a search for land was underway in several parts of the Dhaka city, in particular Moakhali, Gulshan, Badda, and some other locations. However, in this enterprise, the zeal faded underneath a cluster of disappointment, as a land of desirable location and financial sustainability seemed non-existent. Meanwhile, information about the present location came to the trustee board through a real estate business experienced lawyer, Mr. David C.R. Bishash. Eventually, in 1996, the property in the present location was purchased with the idea of establishing multi-purpose projects, the most definitive and decisive one being the institution of a church, along with a school or hospital, as advised by Korean friends.
Subsequently, construction work of Dhaka Methodist Church cum school building began with financial support from home and abroad, in particular the Korean well-wishers. Construction work got more life as the local friends and well-wishers came up with the inspirational message. Having come to know that the first English medium school was going to be established, the local people were thrilled, extending their help to ensure that the project succeed. By March 1997, construction work of the 4-storied building with more than adequate space for the school and the church as well was completed. Mr. Timothy A. Faircross worked as a consultant with the considerate consultation charge.
Finally, when the building structure materialized into its complete shape and was ready to serve, The management stepped up to search for a principal who can take over the responsibility of establishing regulations, order, and an appropriate educational environment for the school, finally fulfilling the dream of dispensing knowledge and education to the youth. The initial plan of the board was to appoint a female principal, which they had been successful at too, but the plan went downhill as the board failed to agree with some personal problems and demands of the candidate. Therefore, an advert for securing a new principal was published in the national weekly magazine, Pratibashi. Having read the vacancy announcement, Mr. Shubroto Edward Gomes contacted the management while he was working as a vice principal at Oxford International School. At that time, communication and the surrounding environment were in no way identical to what we see and experience today. To reach the destination, he had to ask the people in the surroundings about the location of the school. It was difficult for them to provide him the exact location, as the huge 4-storied building was perceived by some as a cinema hall and by others as a church, as the establishment of a modern-day English medium school in this location was never anticipated.
After several meetings, Mr. Gomes was appointed as the founder principal in 1997. In July 1st, 1997, the newly built school building was inaugurated, and on an auspicious occasion, Mr. Nivaran Das was ordained as the first bishop of Methodist Church of Bangladesh, where 53 Korean guests were present. To the guide school management and its operation, a government board was constituted and led by Bishop Nivaran Das, chairman, Mr. David C.R. Bishas, member, Mr. Timothy A. Faircross, member, Mrs. Linda Das, member, Mr. S.K. Kim, member. By virtue of the position, the principal was selected as the secretary of the board.
After Mr. Gomes had been appointed, in his workforce joined Mr. James S. Baroi as his accountant and Mr. James Amrito Sikdar as a supporting co-worker, who, however, was appointed prior to the principal. However, since the school required teaching staff for conducting the classes, upon publishing a vacancy announcement, 13 teachers were recruited through an intensive interview process in both written and oral format. This process gave Mr. Gomes an extremely efficient group of employees, which included Kona Agnes de Rosario, Rosemary Gonzalez, Dara Sultan, Teresa Shaha, Isidore Palma, John Halda, Dipti Rani Mojumdar, Rachel Provahalda, Rosie Datta, Roxana Zareen, Rita Josephine Rosario, James S.K. Adhikari, and amongst others, Martha Shiprahalda. With the help of the newly appointed teachers, as Mr. Gomes started recruiting students, a need to disperse advertisement in the newspaper, television, and in the form of leaflets in the local community was soon realized. An advertisement was prepared by the ad farm named Matra, which is owned by the renowned actor Afzal Hossain, and was telecasted for a short duration of 20 and later 10 seconds, 4 or 5 times a day. The newly appointed teachers worked tirelessly, visiting the parents door to door and convincing them of the institution's reliability. The school started its journey on January 8, 1998, with 130 students of playgroup to Standard 3, which was a great success and a result of hard work of the principal and the teachers as well. 1 month later, in February 1998, after the school was inaugurated, the number of students skyrocketed, leading to a total of 160. The highest total ever recorded for a school in Mirpur area. Such an increase was beyond the expectations of the teachers and authorities. As a result, the prospect of this kind undeniably grew optimism in everybody. None of the schools, even those that were established long before, received as many students as Methodist English Medium School did in its very first year. This consequently encouraged teachers, the untiring effort of whom, in terms of their contribution to imparting education, taking care of children, and maintaining a disciplined, student-friendly academic environment, to channel more dedication and ensure the reputation of the school keeps rising. A common phenomenon underway was that new accommodation needed to be arranged every year for newly admitted students, along with the requirement of new classes to be introduced every year. And thus, with the expansion of classes, within a couple of years, enrollment touched the figure of 250. This indeed resulted in generating the income of the school, as well as slowly, surely, widening its reputation.
Nevertheless, unanticipated though, Methodist English Medium School had to cope up with some ups and downs, followed by its principal's resignation in April 2000, which left the operation administration entirely perplexed. In order that the issue is overcome immediately, new principal Mr. Richard Taposh Odhikari was appointed in his position. Fortunately, first 2 years of his tenure, the achievements of school was up to the mark that had taken the management to a comfortable state. But in course of time, the administration again happened to see another turmoil. Mr. Richard Taposh Odhikari submitted his resignation letter in 2006 and was accepted by the management. This created a very negative impact on pupils and guardians around, and as a result, the number of students began to decline. However, to tackle the issue and ensure that the academic environment is maintained smoothly, Mr. Kim intervened, and finally it was resolved with Mr. Richard Taposh Odhikari's reappointment.
However, amid the turmoil, Methodist English Medium School, for the first time in its lifetime, celebrated the fulfillment of one of its goals, that being the appearance of the first O-level candidates in the Edexcel GCE examination in 2005. Additionally, the result was quite remarkable, in some cases even exceptional, which granted MEMS momentum and acknowledgement from the community around for providing international standard education. Such a reputation is critically acclaimed by the community, the British Council, and Edexcel International, encouraging them to acknowledge us as an international center of learning. Meanwhile, the founder, Principal Subrata Edward Gomes, was invited again by the MEMS board to clasp the steering of MEMS. Being his home ground, Mr. Gomes agreed to take charge of the school, so he returned to MEMS in July 2009. In his second journey with MEMS, he inherited 300 and some more students, which rose to 400 in a couple of months. Mr. Gomes, being so foresighted, immediately after taking responsibility, sat with the teachers and other staff as well, with whom he shared his dream of elevating MEMS to a significant position. A strategic plan was designed towards getting to the target. From then on, as a result of those measures, Methodist English Medium School came into limelight, witnessing many a success. Of the significant achievements, a new setup for advanced A-level was introduced in 2014, and the latest is marked by the formation of the newly initiated English Version School program, thus producing the Methodist English Version School, MEVS, on 11 January 2020 in regard of flourishing academic enlightenment even beyond the English medium spectrum.